What's up, everybody? Dan here from Headwaters Kayak. Today we're going to go paddle two boats that are almost identical. They're basically cousins, or maybe even sisters, if you will. But they're made out of different materials and they're going to have a lot different feel on the water. So I want to introduce you to the Liquid Logic Saluda 12. This boat has been around for a few years now. In fact, we actually had it on the channel for quite a while. It's our camera boat. Great, stable, fun-loving little recreational kayak. And then over here, we have the Hurricane Prima 125. A little bit longer, quite a bit lighter, but almost identical when you look at the whole profiles. Very similar boats, same hatches, same seats, same deck layout. So we're going to take these two boats out on the water. We're going to put them side by side, and then we're going to take them for a paddle and determine, is it worth a few $100s extra to get the Hurricane, or is the Saluda more than capable? Let's go find out. Can you see the family resemblance? When you get the two side by side, it's easy to see that they are definitely related. The Prima 125 is 6 inches longer, has 25 pounds more capacity, so a little bigger boat, a little higher volume boat. But things like the seat, the attachment points, the multiple positions, all the same. They both have a high-low position on the seat if you wanted to adjust them. The rear hatch stays the same. The latches open up the same. These are actually really cool because they both open either way. So if you want, you can open them from either side, which is kind of cool. Same carry handles, similar hatches, same seat, similar paddings. You can see the Saluda does have a little front console. The Prima, you can get an aftermarket console. Hurricane actually makes a really nice console that goes with it, but it doesn't come with it. It's a part that's sold separately, and I would definitely recommend it if you're getting this boat. Other subtle differences are the Saluda has the ability to add a little wheel. They have a bolt-on wheel system. They have a reinforced keel. This is a little bit more rough and tumble option, whereas a Hurricane is a boat that you're gonna get your feet wet on. You're not gonna drag that thing. You're not going to get in it on shore and slide in the water. That's the biggest difference between these two boats, is the impact resistance of the Liquid Logic. It's gonna be stouter and heavier duty than the Hurricane. The Hurricane, on the other hand, is gonna be 8 pounds lighter, which doesn't sound like a lot, but I just lifted them off my Subaru and huffed them down here. And I can say it definitely is noticeable when you're hauling them around. Both are manageable, but the 8 pounds difference in the Hurricane Prima is definitely noticeable off the water. As always, it's good to flip these boats over and have a look at them side by side. You can see identical DNA. They even have that same keel line on both of them, just for a little added tracking. You see the low chines that run all the way from the bow to the stern. That gives this boat a ton of stability. And then they flare out. So you're paddling this boat at a much narrower spot, but the overall boat is 29 on both these guys, which means you have a fast, efficient platform to get started, but as you tilt it over on edge, it's gonna get more and more stable. So it's gonna have a really high primary and even a higher secondary. The capacity says 350 on the Saluda, 375 on the Prima. I'm 220, so I should fit in both these boats and have lots of room to spare. But if you're on the smaller side of things, you may want to check out the Saluda 11 or the Prima 110 because they're smaller, more compact, lighter weight options for smaller people. So definitely check those out if you're, I would say 175 or less. Maybe check out the little smaller size. But for me, I'm the 12 foot, 12 and a half foot. So let's go hit the water, check them out. This is kind of a weedy launch spot. I'm 2 weeks out of surgery, just got my stitches out. And I'm like, I really should keep this foot dry. So we're gonna get creative here. First thing we do might be a stability test, just to try to keep that foot out of the gunk. There we go. I will say that the surgery went well and I am back in action. I'm kind of able to do whatever I want as long as my foot tolerates it, which so far it seems to be pretty happy. That wasn't too bad. I'm wearing a Stolquist Ebb PFD today. It's got a nice high back on it. That works out really well with these high back chairs. Yeah, the seat position in this boat, the thigh pads, it all feels really comfy. And like I mentioned earlier, this isn't my first time in this boat. We actually had a Saluda 12. I did a review on it, I don't know, maybe it's like 3 or 4 years ago when I was working with Seth West. And he actually used the boat a ton as our camera boat that year. He found it to be really stable. He was able to get his camera close to the water. So we put a lot of miles on it, and it's definitely one of our favorites. Just a great tracker, has great edges, just an all-around amazing paddling platform. for recreational use. This boat's at $1,000. The thermoform Prima is like $14.49. So definitely a jump in price. Is it worth a third more in performance? I guess we'll find out. But I definitely have no gripes about the Saluda in flat water. It has good glide, great secondary. I've always been a big fan of how this boat leans on a secondary edge. Very, very stable, confidence inspiring. But yeah, when I'm just paddling straight, I'm not thinking about going straight. It tracks well. Really great design. The paddle I'm using today is an Aquabound Tetra. This is a 230 centimeter. Yeah, 230 to 240 adjustable. I find the 230 to be just right in this kayak. Feels comfortable. I could go down to a 220 if I wanted to, but the 230 feels just about right. And I know what a lot of you are saying, like, that's a $500 paddle and a $1,000 kayak. Yes, it is, I know. I'm spoiled for one, but two, I really feel like the paddle makes more of a difference than the kayak itself. These kayaks, they're all within like 10% of each other. You know, when you're looking at a 12-foot recreational kayak, there might be some that are like a little bit faster, a little bit higher performing, but they're all pretty close. But a paddle can be like 50% better, like this versus an aluminum, maybe even 75, 80% better. The paddle makes such a huge difference in performance as compared to, you know, similar style of boats. Give you guys a little fit check here. Lots of room in this boat. Again, I'm 6'2", 34-inch inseam. Lots of room. I could actually take my foot pedals out a little further if I wanted to. Pretty good capacity. If you look at where the water line's at, I'm actually a couple inches under the logo there. So I could definitely bring a little overnight kit with me if I wanted to. Should also note that I'm running this boat in a high seat. I kind of always do because it's so stable that I really like the higher center of gravity. If you are a bigger person though, so you're like 260, 275, you might find the low seat position to give you a little bit more stability. All right, let's talk about stability for a second. You know, I mentioned earlier how the boat has flared chines, and that I said maybe it runs at a, I don't know, if it's 29, I feel like there's about 2.5 inches on either side, so 5 inches narrower. So maybe it runs at about a 24-inch waterline beam. But as I put it to its edge, I have all this extra air volume on the sides that I'm pushing down in the water, and it firms up to a really, really solid secondary edge. I mean, I'm leaning my head over the water, which I don't recommend, but this boat is real stable. The other thing is I've got a low brace handy, so worst case scenario, if I were to go over too far, I can just push my head through the water, drop my paddle, and slice my paddle out of the water. A low brace is a super key clutch skill that every paddler should know. If you've gone this far in paddling and you haven't learned it yet, do me a favor, next time you're on the water, take the time to learn it. Elbows up, you lean out, your paddle face is fairly flat to the water, and what I like to do is just push the water forward. As I'm pushing, I'm thinking about sitting upright. I right my boat with my hips, and you notice my head's the last thing to come up. I'm dropping my head down to the water as I'm pushing off the water. And what that does, it allows my lower body to right the boat, and I bring myself back to center. Anyway, something to play with. Even if you're in a wreck kayak, it's still a good skill. A lot of people know how to low brace, they just don't even think about it. Like if I were to want to talk to a friend and turn my boat. This is what we all do, right? We drag a paddle. Well, if you notice that blade is kind of flat to the water, maybe a little climbing angle, we're leaning on it. That's a low brace. That's all it is. So it's not scary. It's not a big skill. It's pretty standard and you can do it. Okay, well, I mean, nothing but positive things to say about the Saluda. I think for a $1,000 boat, it's got a lot going for it. The rotomolded kayaks are really robust. Let's go jump in that Prima and see if it's any different. And this is the things I would do with the plastic boat that I just wouldn't do with the thermoform kayak. You know, you've got rocks on the ground. You could scrape these boats up and it just doesn't hurt them as bad. Now doing that with the thermoform would just be, that would be hurtful. That would be a hard thing to do. But the difference is that right there. The fact that I can just pick this thing up with one hand. Super nice. All right, let's go check out the Prima 125. Yeah, we'll do the same here. Nice dry feet. Oh, perfect. It's all set up for me already. So again, sliding this thing on mud, even hitting the occasional rock, it's not gonna hurt it. You know, it's ABS plastic, so it is still plastic. It can take some glance and blow impacts. What's bad for it is those real hard impacts, those weighted, sharp rock under the keel. You don't want to do that. You do just have to be a little bit more mindful, but they're tougher than what people give them credit for. I see a lot of people talking online just how, oh, I would just break one of those things. You probably wouldn't. I've had this boat in the fleet all summer long. I've had, I don't know, 60, 70 people paddle this boat over the course of summer on demos, as well as just like letting friends take it out. This is kind of my go-to buddy boat. If I've got friends that are coming out and maybe we're all on touring kayaks and it's their first time, I put them in this because it goes pretty fast, it goes really straight, it behaves itself. It's just a good all-around kayak, and it's light and easy for me to throw on and off the car. You can definitely notice the acceleration difference in a thermoform boat. They just pick up speed and glide a little bit more efficiently. I mean, it's not crazy, especially at top speed, it's probably not that much different at all, but it's that acceleration, that ease of just moving the kayak through the water. Definitely feels easier as you're taking off. Secondary stability feels really solid. It does feel like this is a little bit bigger boat. I know it's 6 inches longer and has a 25-pound higher weight capacity, but overall it just feels slightly bigger. Maybe it's because I don't have the console up front. Anyway, I think if you're a bigger person, you might feel like you have a little bit more space in this one. The secondary stability is solid on both these boats. Carves in nice turns, you can see there. The other thing that this boat has is it's got a secondary bulkhead right up here in the front, which means it's got positive air flotation on the bow and the stern, so if I were to capsize this, it's going to sit nice and high in the water. I'll be able to get back in. Whereas the Saluda just has a pillar up front, so it has a little bit of flotation, but not quite as much. People don't think about flotation until they're capsized in open water, and then they realize how important it is. Having a boat that has bow and stern flotation means that boat's going to ride nice and high. It's going to be able to flip over, get back in, pump the water out, and keep paddling, as opposed to a boat without flotation, like no bulkheads altogether, and that boat's sunk to the cockpit and is a real problem. And even if you only have a stern flotation, it's doable, but it's still a lot more work, and it really takes somebody else there to help you get the water out. I was talking to a guy today that was a brand new paddler, super gung-ho, wants to do all sorts of paddling, and he had never thought about flotation. And after our conversation, I realized, like, man, this isn't something people know about instinctively. You really got to point it out. So I try to make that a point in all my videos, is to talk about flotation, talk about safety, and pros and cons of all the different ways to get flotation. Like, you can have it sit on top that you can just hop back on and self-draining, but you sacrifice a little performance for that. Whereas to sit inside, it's a little harder to rescue and re-enter, but you get better performance and usually a little bit better stability because your weight's lower in the boat. So there's always these pros and cons, all these different things to consider. Where am I going to be paddling? What sort of climate am I going to be in? Am I in Florida? Well, I might want to sit on top where I can just hop on and off because it's always warm. Am I in the Midwest? Well, I probably want to sit inside where I can be more protected from the elements more times of the year. There's no one kayak that does it all, and that's why we have, 50 plus different kinds of kayaks in our warehouse, and we encourage you to come out, try some, get an education. I'll help you narrow it down to maybe 3 or 4 models that'll work for you. We'll come out, we'll hit the water, you can try them all and see what's the best for your needs. Give you guys a look around here. See how much room I've got ahead of me? You also see that orange deal? That's the bulkhead. Sealed compartment up in the front. No access to that compartment though. That is one thing I wish they would have done on this boat. I get why they didn't. It adds weight, it adds complexity, but having access to that is a really cool thing. So as I sit here in the boat, you'll see I've got a little bit of water line underneath the seam there. Really solid secondary stability. As soon as it hits that edge, it just firms up and it doesn't want to go any further. I have to literally put my head over the water. And even so, it's just rock solid. All right, well, that was a fun little test. Super nice day to be outside, playing in boats. Really enjoying the workflow of my job this year. You know, I get to play in boats, make videos. I get to work with customers, get them on the water. And I get to work with great people in paddle sports to, you know, help get their products to the end user. I'm really having a lot of fun with it. Super excited about the new shop, the new demo center. I know I said it in my last video, but I don't think I can overstate it. This is not going to be the old-fashioned retail shop experience where you come in Monday through Saturday, 10 o'clock to 6 o'clock, and you shop kayaks. I think that model's dead. At least it's dead to me, because I spent so much of my 20s and my 30s in that shop, away from my family and away from my kids, just waiting for the phone to ring, or, you know, just keeping this big wheel turning of like staff and lessons and private events and rentals and just anything I could do to keep the money turning. And I just don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to live to that high of stress and sacrifice time with my kids to help paddle sports. I love paddle sports and I want to grow paddle sports, but I want to grow it in a way that's true to myself, that's true to my family, and that's sustainable for me long term. So what does that mean? The demo center is open by appointment. How do you book a demo? You go to my website, you shoot me a message, say, hey Dan, I want to come up there and try some boats. When works for you? We can work together, schedule a time, schedule some models. I'm happy to do a phone consultation, a FaceTime consultation. Then you can come to the shop. We'll narrow down what you're looking for. We'll go hit the water. And then when you're ready to buy, we're going to have a beautiful showroom with all the things we sell available to you to come purchase and or have it drop shipped direct to your address. So that's how we're doing it. If that works for the way you want to shop, great. If not, well, that's okay too. I don't need every single customer. There's still a lot of great kayak shops, a lot of great online retailers, and a lot of these brands that we work with do sell direct. I hope that makes sense. I'm pretty excited about it. It feels like we're on the right track. I've talked to all my vendor partners. They're excited. I've talked to all my shop partners. They're excited. I talked to a lot of you guys. You guys seem to be excited. So off on a new journey. Let's see how it goes. All right, let's wrap this up. Let's go get this boat next to the Saluda. We'll compare them side by side and figure out what's best for what you might need. Yeah. Okay, I was able to keep my foot nice and dry. Remember last time I was dragging that Saluda? You just don't have to. All right, let's put these two things side by side here. So, Saluda 12, $9.99. Prima 125, $14.49. Which is right for you? Well, I think it really comes down to the type of water you're going to be in. How do you transport your stuff? How do you care for your stuff? Are you the kind of person that's going to take you and 4 of your buddies, throw kayaks in the back of your pickup truck and go float a river? You should jump in that Saluda. You're going to have a great time. It's perfect for that. Are you the kind of person that's maybe a husband and wife and you're going to put them on top of your Subaru and, you know, go paddle a lake? You might appreciate the speed, the glide, the lightness of the Hurricane. I think either boat could kind of fill the need for different people, and I don't want to try to stereotype and pigeonhole you into one thing. But if you need more rugged durability, the Saluda is a great option. It's heavy duty. It's still fairly lightweight. It's still fairly manageable. And if you're looking for better performance, a little bit more speed, a little bit more glide, and an easier time off the water, go with the Hurricane. And if you want to play Goldilocks and try them both, you know what to do. Hit me up. Let's arrange a demo. We'll get you guys on the water. You can try these kayaks for yourself and decide what's right for you. Okay, guys, thanks so much for hanging. Until next time, this is Dan, wishing you happy paddling. We'll see you on the next one.